and your song I Just Need has 24 million Spotify streams.
I mean, that song changed my life.
On today's episode, I'm joined by Daniel Allan, an electronic music artist, producer, content creator, and all-around great hang.
My entire brand in the past year has been like the antithesis of perfection.
Just sort of recently played with the Chainsmokers. That was insane. Like, what was that like for you?
Let's just announce a tour and see how it goes. We announce it goes terribly.
We dive into the process of crafting a hit song in today's world, the relentless grind of creating every day, and his inspiring journey of growing up in Kentucky as a child of immigrants to betting on himself and moving to LA with nothing but a few dozen peanut butter sandwiches and a dream. Did you ever come across with Jack Harlow?
Jack was the first session that I ever had.
What? Welcome to Create.Repeat.
Voices in my head telling me it's now or never. Just turned 31, I can't deny the pressure. Even at my best, I know that I can do better. Running out of time, but how the hell can you measure your life?
We're going? Wow. Look at that.
Sick.
We're like 3 hours in.
No, we're chilling.
That. All right. Daniel Allan, thank you so much for coming on the Create.Repeat podcast.
Heck yeah, I'm happy to be here. Been a fan for a while, so this is great.
Dude, likewise. I'm so excited we get to do this.
Heck yeah.
So for the people out there who might not know who you are, can you just give me a little brief rundown of who are you? What do you make? How do you label yourself?
Yeah. I'm Daniel. Which camera do I look at? Do I look at any of them?
This one.
Hi. A little FX3 gang or something? It's a Sony. Some kind. Hell yeah.
It is. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, I'm Daniel Allan. I write music, I produce music, and I tour it, play shows. It's been a lot of fun. Past couple years have been hectic. Past 8 months have been more hectic, but it's been a beautiful journey. Been doing it all my life, and it's been my job for 5 years now. So yeah.
How's that been, the transition of it turning from a passion going straight into a job where you're like, oh, I have to, this is now a real thing?
I think it's always been a passion, right? I think I just started getting paid for it at one point.
Yeah.
But it definitely comes with ups and downs. There's the beautiful freeing part of it when it's just a hobby,
yeah,
right? And then you have to start kind of taking other things into account, where is this going to be played? Is this meant for a live show? Is this not meant for a live show? Whereas before, a few years ago, it was just I'm just going to make whatever, put whatever feels cool out. But honestly, all of those are really amazing challenges. You know what I mean? They're not I don't view any of them as a bad or a hardship or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's still, I think it's the sickest job in the world, so I can't complain.
Dude, it is. I mean, just
Yeah.
looking at it from a distance, it's been really cool because, we met, I don't know if it was a couple years ago
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah,
and
for
seeing
sure.
you and just being Instagram friends or whatever, and just seeing you kind of go on this rise has been awesome as a person. Just knowing you, and I think the best way that I would describe you is similar. You are a perfect essence of your music. Your music has
so
this
sweet.
great energy and vibe that what you bring to it, and I think that's how you are as a person.
Wow.
And I don't know, sometimes you meet an artist and they aren't what you kind of expect them to be. They kind of have their alter ego, and I feel like you're the real deal. So just had to get that compliment out of the way.
That's great.
I guess got to butter you up before I get to the hard hitting questions.
I'm blushing. That's great. That's awesome.
That was the goal. That
Thank
was the
you.
goal here.
Thank you.
What kind of genre would you say that you make?
It's evolved so much over the years.
Yeah.
I've had such a history with music in general. Both my parents did music growing up. My mom has they immigrated here, so it's an equivalent of what a PhD would be in musicology. So she's just
where do they immigrate from?
From Ukraine, from
Ukraine,
former Soviet
okay.
Union. Yeah, so they're just and my dad grew up in bands. That's how they met, whatever. But
Yeah.
and when I was a little kid in second grade, my brother gave me his iPod Classic, and it had Rakim and LL Cool J and
snap.
Biggie and a lot of old school hip hop. He's 15 years older than me.
Oh, my sister's 15 years older
There
than
you
me.
go.
Wow.
There you go. It's kind of a blessing.
It really is.
Yeah.
She put me on to all West Coast hip hop. So
It's your
I
music
get it.
curator. If you
Yeah.
have that much of an older sibling, they're your curator from a young age.
Definitely.
And then on that iPod, there was a bunch of electronic music that I would always skip over.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I think it all kind of came back to electronic music at the end, and I think that's kind of what it is now. But I think it's always going to have some sort of an electronic or dance component, some sort of a pop melody thing going on. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I would probably just say electronic music or dance music in the most simple way, but I could also get into the weeds and talk about all my influences.
Dude, I think that's what's so cool about this like era of music is that you can kind of get away from the genre or the labels. Even like you as an artist, right? Like I think, you know, obviously we've had these producers and these people have come on the scene, but it's really cool to see this wave of being like, oh, Daniel Allan, like I was just saying, I know you from the sound. You're not singing on these things. It's hard to identify. You collaborate on pretty much every song that you have. It's like a different voice, but I feel like I can tell that it is a Daniel Allan song. To you, like what makes a Daniel Allan song? What makes it where's that inspiration? What is that thing that you have?
I think it's really funny you say that because that's the only thing I can control, right? You know what I mean? Like I as like an electronic artist need other people to make my songs, like, or I mean I could like do samples or whatever, but since I'm such a like pop brain person, I do need like the full like vocals on the song or even samples. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's evolved so much over the years. You know, I think in the early days it was just let me try to do stuff that no one's really heard before. Let me try to just kind of being an artist, you know what I mean? And I think as it's evolved over the years, I've tried to simplify as much as I can, to the point where I still want to have a balance of things that feel like cool and unique and interesting, but also I think a lot about who the person is. Like I try to like create like almost like a profile in my head of what that person looks like, where they're at in their lives, how old they are, and like really think about music in that way of like, and try to like see myself in it. So I don't know. I don't know that I could explain it as like, this is the sound per se. I just try to make it as much of me, and if that resonates, it resonates, and if it doesn't, it's okay with me.
It resonates. You know? In my book, it resonates. So
appreciate it. Wow, this is the most compliments.
Man. I'm just like I said. I'm just buttering you up. We're gonna change the podcast to the Butter Up podcast. Like, what's your biggest regret? No. Okay, so I was like looking over your Spotify yesterday, and it says you get 1.1 million monthly Spotify listeners, and your song "I Just Need" has 24 million Spotify streams. Does that sound correct? I don't expect.
Sounds right.
Like, how often do you check those numbers now?
More than I want to admit. But.
What's that feel like? Like having 1.1 monthly people. Like people are checking into your music and listening to what you have to say. Like what?
I honestly don't comprehend it. To be totally honest with you, so much of the journey of putting out music for me has been very DIY, you know, as I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. It's just, I kind of just take things in stride, don't really think about them too much. And the crazy thing with I Just Need in general, like with that song, is it kind of just keeps going. Like sometimes you see like a song have like a moment on the internet, like my song did, and it starts to taper off or whatever. And this one has just kind of, people just keep listening to it. And so when I check and it's like, oh, it got like it gets like 100,000 streams a day, you know? And I'm just kind of like, still like, I put it out a year ago, August 11th of last year, you know? And
happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you. And I didn't even realize I was like working the day that it came out, and like Lyra called me. But yeah, I honestly don't really comprehend it, because I can understand like a song doing its thing on the internet, having that moment, and then things like die down. But the fact that people like keep listening to it is really weird. Like I don't really know. I honestly, it's just a really new feeling for me, you know?
Dude, that was crazy. So for like a little more context for people listening to this, you know, his song "I Just Need," in my book, is a certified hit.
Thank you.
It's like one of those songs that I've heard in multiple areas. It's in a commercial. It's I've heard it playing like at a grocery store or something like that. Was that how did that process happen? Like walk me through that. Yeah, like walk me from the beginning, the genesis of making that song and it kind of blowing up to where it's been.
Oh my God, this is so good. Yeah. So this song, what's really funny is I'm still not tired of it.
I was gonna ask you that, because I know like bands, they like talk about how they like get so tired of playing the same song over and over again.
And I think the reason that I'm not tired of it is because of the genesis story. Because a lot of the times in music, you'll spend like 8 months, a year, whatever, 2 years on one song, tweaking little things. I Just Need happened. It was my first session with Lyra, who's the vocalist on the song. And I think we were like friends on Twitter. I don't even know. It was like something super random like that. And she came over to the house. We worked on something most of the day. And then she had like a dinner date that she had to go to. And I said something, we still joke about it. And I was like, I wonder how many good songs don't happen because of dinner dates. And we made I Just Need in 15 Minutes right after that. Yeah. And she had like the vocal recorded, like just the main, like I just need just that part.
Yeah.
And then literally the first thing I did was make that little kind of chop thing that you hear like throughout the song. Just a lucky thing where I didn't even like listen to it. I just kind of randomly threw like paint at the canvas and it just landed in all the right spots. And yeah, that's just like kind of how it worked out. And really funnily enough, I didn't think the song was that good because at the time in the like electronic world, like intricacy and detail, because there's like not vocal and you can't you can't say, oh wow, like this person's vibrato is so beautiful or this. It's literally just production. Like that's the only way that you can kind of talk. It's such a detail driven thing that you would think that if you spend 6 months on a song, it's because you're trying to get all the details perfect, and the amount of time that you spend on a song is correlated to how good it is. And like I kind of had this imposter syndrome with the song where I'm like, there's no way it's good because I spent 15 minutes on it. Right. You know, like it kind of didn't equate to me. And at the time I had like a folder of like 100 songs and that I was sending out to my friends. I was putting out a project called Duality, which is what I Just Need was on. And I had like the main folders, and then I had like a subfolder, which was basically all the demos that I didn't think were good. And I Just Need was in that for the longest time.
Wow.
And I would send it to a bunch of my friends, and at a certain point, everyone just said that was the best song. And I really just never thought that. And I've heard that so many times from like people that I look up to, like, it's the one that you never expect, like whatever, you know? And I guess that really was the case. And at a certain point, I just had to look at myself and be like, I'm wrong about this. You know what I mean? Like if everyone is saying, because if it's split, whatever, like I'm not going to think too much about it. But people that I really look up to, that I started to become friends with in that period, all kind of collectively said, actually, a lot of them were saying like, this is going to be a big song for you. Like, it wasn't even like, I like the song. It was like, I think this is going to be your biggest song. Like 3 or 4 friends said that, you know?
Wow.
And so I don't know. Okay. I guess I just never heard it. I guess I didn't really think too much of it. And I mean, the reason that to bring it full circle, the reason I don't hate that song is because I didn't have enough time to even think about it when I was working on it.
Right.
You know, it was kind of, that song was 2 sessions. It was the first session when me and Lyra met up. And then she came over to record the second verse, and I changed some of the chords, and that was it. Like that, like there were maybe like 2 hours total of working on that song. So I don't know. It's still a trip. It
That's
really
mind blowing to me.
Me
that
too, dude.
You can have that, but it also makes sense for it's like if you're someone spending a year or 2 in the song, that's just like where you're at currently with the song. Like you're listening to it over and over again. So maybe you'll get sick of it one day, but
I hope I don't. I hope I don't. Like it's still cool. And like what also doesn't make me sick of it is I keep hearing it recontextualized through people's stories, like in ways that I haven't experienced it, you know? And dude, I mean, what you were just telling me, like like Morgan heard it in her class. Yeah. I was like, that shit's a trip to me. I don't know. It's weird. I've never really experienced it in that way. So that just keeps exciting me about it.
It's such a weird thing, like as an artist, when you put work out into the world, and I really have this idea that it's yours until you release it. And so when you have your own taste and your own opinions, or you might know, like what you're saying, like maybe this song is more complex, or maybe I just spent more time in it, or this is an idea nugget that I've had for years, and then it's the 15-minute thing that you just throw out, that's where the success is. I think that's a weird thing sometimes for an artist to experience, where you know, how you're even saying how you're like thinking about your audience as you're making these songs, and then sometimes it's like, oh, you're just flat wrong, but in a great way. You have a hit on your hands. That's just insane to me. So what, like, did that song, like, I don't know, I've seen you like from a distance, like start to get a little bit more notoriety and stuff, like have more opportunities come to you because of that song, more collaborations?
Yeah. I mean, that song changed my life. You know, that song, that I was happy on both sides for what it's worth. Like there was never a period where like, I don't want to say that my life is better after that song, because that feels like a little weird, but I think that a lot of my dreams have definitely come true. I think after that one came out, I'm playing Red Rocks for the first time next month, which has been like,
oh my God,
a dream of mine for the longest time. You know, like a lot of things like that have definitely, you know, made themselves clear. And I think more than anything, I've learned a lot of life stuff from that record. Like, obviously I made that, like I said, I made it really quick. It just taught me not to overthink things, which I think is the biggest hurdle for any creative that I know. And I'm by no means immune to it. Like I still experience it every day. Like it's not like that, but it's even in like the promotion of that record, I just started shooting like crappy iPhone videos. You know what I mean? Like I was not doing anything crazy at all, but I realized that uh bad bad videos in the same way that bad songs are is a part of having like good videos. Like you have to a lot of the times having like writer's block in music is like that's like the notion that oh you're just not coming up with anything. But when you reframe that to be like I'm just coming up with songs that aren't that good, that's a part of getting to the good songs,
Right,
you know?
yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I would say yes, the song has changed a lot. It's like maybe more people know it. Maybe more people are familiar with like my artist project and all that stuff. But I think it's probably done more for me, you know, than it might have even done for other people. I don't know. It's just it's really I don't know. It's reframed my brain in a lot of ways. So
do you feel like because you've released music since you had another project since, have you felt that pressure? Has that clouded like your creative process at all? Of like I need another, I just need, or are you just still trying to like keep a loose grip on it?
I just do my thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like, don't get me wrong. There's like all the like industry pressure that happens, but it's all just noise at the end of the day. Like I make music because I like making music, you know, and don't get me wrong, having a song do well, like I've seen what it does for a career now firsthand, and it definitely moves the needle in a way that maybe other songs don't, but I'm never going to let if it's doing well, like dictate if I put it out or if I like it.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like a hard boundary that I had to create for myself where I was like, dude, if the song is, if I enjoy it, you know, I'll put it out even if my manager doesn't want me to, even if, you know, this person doesn't want me to, whatever.
Yeah.
And if that's like the wrong business move, so be it. Cause I don't know. It's just like life is too short to just like put out one song and try to recreate the next one. And if it's not perfect, like I feel like my entire brand in the past year has been like the antithesis of perfection. Like I feel like it's just like throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, you know? And I feel like as soon as I lose touch with that, I lose touch with like myself, which is just a whole meta weird rabbit hole to go down. But yeah.
Dude, I was thinking about that, like with you as this artist, like you really are sort of this perfect generation, this like internet generation. Like you feel very of the internet to me. And as a other child of the internet myself, I dubbed the another children of the internet. But you know, like I want to get into like you have this whole kind of like coming up through Web3, which is really fascinating to me. And I'm sure like I still have a bunch of questions of like, what does that even mean?
Sure.
Even though I was kind of like dabbling in that as well. But another thing that's been really interesting has been the promotion of the song, like you were mentioning, and like putting out these iPhone videos. And I follow you were posting a bunch of stuff, and like so much so you got to a point where I remember you released like a story where you're like apologizing for like, I'm sorry I'm posting so much stuff, but like I forget your exact words, but essentially it was like there's a wave right now and I have to ride it, and this is it. And I just thought that was so cool as someone who likes your music. Of one, I felt like a connection with you as an artist, and it's like it's something when you're following someone and they have a hit and you believe in their music, and then there's a validation. You feel a part of the journey as well. And it's I think like with me and Morgan, like just as removed as we are from it, it was cool to see that. So like when you were talking about like I'm sorry for posting so much or whatever, like it was weirdly a super relatable thing where it made us feel like we were on the journey even more, and seeing like how hard you're working. But I'm curious about the promotion of it. Like I know like that's kind of the struggle that artists deal with today, especially in music, especially with TikTok, and like you got to get that trending song, you got to make that. Do you feel that in order to be a successful artist today, you have to also be a content creator?
I think it depends on what kind of artist you want to be. I think at the end of the day, you're talking to people, like not the algorithm. And if you're trying to find your people, you don't have to have like viral videos. Like you can, if your goal is to find 200 people that are in like a very specific pocket that you're hyper passionate about, then do that. You know what I mean? Like I think that with every iteration, like with vinyl, with CDs, there's always going to be this like next cycle. And I think we're in a cycle where like Instagram and TikTok is like kind of like what the radio was in a way. And for me, like, where's the camera? Is this the camera?
Yeah.
Video number 192 of I Just Need is the one that blew up. So you gotta keep posting. Basically,
shoot your shot.
You gotta shoot your shot, bro. It's just like people are not gonna remember the bad videos. Like I don't know. It's just like I grew up playing sports. I grew up playing tennis, and like people don't really remember like bad losses per se. You know what I mean? Like sure, like what I'm like you just exaggerate in your head what the worst case scenario is, and you just like it just paralyzes you in a way.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's really hard for me to say what the button was that I pressed internally that made me just kind of throw that away. And like I said, I'm not immune to it, but just for that brief period, I think in some ways, when I even started teasing that song for the first time, like there were just like people that I look up to started reaching out, you know, just weird things like that started happening. And for me, it was just a very, when you're posting every day and you're like in the weeds, you know, like I really knew how many views every video was getting and stuff. And one starts to do like a little bit better, you start listening, you know, you're like, okay, cool. Like there has to be something here. And I don't know, I just stopped. I actually had this whole thing that I would do. It was like a whole system that I like kind of created in my brain where like, this is so funny. Like I literally would post from like, I would basically like 9 a.m. to like 11 a.m. were like my Instagram hours. So I would like edit the video. I like made a hard rule where I couldn't spend more than 30 minutes editing it because I feel like you can get down the 6-hour rabbit hole.
Yeah, you'll get sucked in real quick.
I was like, okay, I gave myself this rule, like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. would be Instagram time. And then I just deleted the app off my phone at 11 a.m. every day. And then I would just re-download it the next morning. And because that was like my way to.
That's what works for you.
Yeah, that was just my way to like not look at how it was doing.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because that way I'm like not like fixated on like the results.
Yeah.
And weirdly that really helped me. I don't even remember the original question, but I think we're like somewhere around there.
Well, it's like that. I think that's so fascinating because like the dopamine hits that you get from when something's popping, like that's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
And then also like that like darkness you can feel when something's flopping.
Yeah.
And you can immediately get in your head. And
so real.
Especially like when you're doing something like that early in the morning. Like, cause you know, like not to get too meta here, but like with Create.Repeat, like we post on Instagram every single day. And like there's some times where I know and it's like, okay, this is connecting. People really like it. And there's other time where it's just like nobody likes this. And then I have to go and try to create more stuff. And so I definitely struggle with that, with like looking at the stats sometimes.
But it is people though,
watching.
you know what I mean? Like it is like there is someone that hits like, you know
totally.
What I mean?
It's so easy. Like when I, you know, in past life, I was like a personality for BuzzFeed and like would make a lot of videos. And there'd be times where it's like you have a video that has 1 million views and it's got, you know, 10,000 comments. And every single comment is like, this is amazing. And then there's just one negative one that you read. Yeah. And it's like, I'm breaking that down with my therapist 5 years later.
Dude, it's so bad. But what I will say is for every negative, I agree with you 100%. Like you're always, it's going to like, it's almost like it's like, everything is like black and white and that one's like a rainbow color comment when you're looking through it. But for every like negative comment, which I got negative comments. I mean, dude, I posted so many videos of that song.
Yeah.
For every negative comment, like I would get like 10 that were like, this is my first time hearing the song. I love this song. You know what I mean? And that's just the battle you got to fight. You know? It's just like, and honestly, if you're getting like some bad comments, you're probably doing well, you know? And so it's like, I think people are just scared of being criticized, myself included as an artist. I was like a pretty sensitive person, you know, like, but yeah, man, it's like, if you're getting bad comments, you're probably getting a lot of good comments.
It's such a good way to look. I just think our brains are so just like programmed to just look for the danger in the world. And it's like trying to shut that off is so difficult, especially like when you're an artist with taste and you have your own, you know, your likes and dislikes of what things are. And so like when other people don't vibe with it, I feel like that is such a like, I don't know, it's just an ego hit, you know.
For sure.
It's a difficult thing, but yeah, that I was so fascinated with you posting all of the time. Did you have any like, so what video number was it that finally hit?
192.
Dude, almost 200. Like,
yeah,
dude, the stamina to just like get up to there is insane.
Yeah, but when you limit it to 30 minutes a video, it's not that's kind of the thing, right? It's like,
true,
that's like a sexy number. Like, like it really took me that long. But also it's like, it's not like I was shooting everything with like a red in like 4K and then like having all these like post-production animation edits and like all these things. I'm like, yo, this is like, I cap cut everything. Like, I don't even know how to use Premiere or any of that.
Yeah.
You know, I literally am just like, shoot it, cap cut, captions in Instagram, you know what I mean? That makes it a lot easier. You know what I mean? It's just, you just have to get over like a bunch of videos doing bad, you know?
Yeah, that's the hurdle. I think it's just it's what stops everybody from doing it. It's just that like fear of of rejection. I will say, like, getting rejected every once in a while. Like, you know, once by the time you're posting your 10th video and it's just like a little mid, you're like,
people
all right,
hating
cool.
you.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, like I was just like, I'm invincible because everyone thinks I suck. You know what I mean? So that I don't know. That helped me.
And it helps too, and like people you respect are reaching out and like, I vibe with this song, and so you're like, that's what matters, right?
Yeah, that was yeah. There were so many big moments like that for me where I was like, it was so funny. For the longest time, I thought I was just trying to make like cool electronic music that felt like it was its own thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as I stopped trying to do that, I did that. You know, which was like such a weird thing. Like I was just like so like hyper fixated on like this thing, and you know, I feel like sometimes you just get too close to it.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I don't know.
Did you always want to do music? Like when you were growing up, were you musical? What was that?
Yeah, you know what's so funny is like I said, both of my parents did music, and they're still like so much better than me at it. You know, like to this day, I can't like compare myself to my parents in terms of like musical ability. You know, I'm a keyboard kid, bro. Like I'm literally, by keyboard I mean like the QWERTY. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like I'm just like sitting hunched over. Like I'm not really like that. I know how to use Ableton. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. But I grew up like a participant in music, you know what I mean? But I don't know that I grew up being like an actor in it. Like I was very much like in the crowd. And to me, making the transition was something that I really kind of decided on. But I mean, like I said, my brother gave me his iPod. That was a big moment for me as a kid. And then when I was, I guess in hindsight, I never knew that it was going to be my job, but it's just, I knew that I was going to do it, whether it was going to be my job or not, if that makes sense. Like just there's so many things I can now, like in hindsight, point back to. Like I went to middle school in like the projects in Louisville, and there were all these kids that were like always freestyling in between classes. Yeah. And so eventually, like I went up to one of them one day and I was like, "Where do you record?" And he was like, "I don't." And so I saved up. Like I said, I grew up playing tennis, and so I saved up some money giving tennis lessons at like the park.
Oh, so you're park. Like good at tennis.
I played in college, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm all right.
Dang, okay. That's a good backup plan in case like.
No, I was not that. I wasn't good enough to be pro. That's like insane. But yeah, like I was giving like lessons and stuff. And I saved up $100. I got a Studio Projects B1 microphone, which is like $100 mic. It's the cheapest you can get, and set up shop in my closet. And I just started recording people, and then, you know, one thing led to another. Like middle school was happening, and I grew up on like old school hip hop, you know what I mean? And I remember at the time, like Future and Migos were like coming up when I was in middle school, and I remember it was like almost like a disconnect from now. I've like grown to love like you know, and like Future and just like that whole like crew, right? I've like grown to like love it now, but at the time I was like such a hip hop head that I was like, oh man, like I don't know if this is it.
I miss the lyricism. I miss
that. You know what I mean?
Just like mumblecore ad-lib.
So funny, right? And like I don't know, it was just like a new thing for me. And I started recording kids that I thought were doing that still, like in the middle school. And on that iPod that I had, I started listening to a lot more of the electronic stuff. And I remember like on the radio, like Lady Gaga was like coming up, right? Yeah. And I was like, damn, like the production behind this, I love what she's doing. Like, don't get me wrong, but I was like, whatever's going on behind that is like really cool. And I guess just in hindsight, all these things make sense. Like I did that for all middle school. I was just recording these people. That stuff started happening. I started listening to it more. And then what really connected for me was, eventually the rappers started being like, I was like, where do you get your beats? And they were like, we just rip them off YouTube. Yeah. I was like, I bet I could like figure this out. Yeah. And I torrented Sony Acid Pro 7, which was like, not meant for making beats, you know, and like that's where I kind of started.
What is it meant for?
Like I think like just more like recording vocals and whatnot, and like more for like Pro Tools. There are people that produce in Pro Tools, but it's mostly like when you walk into a studio, people are just tracking vocals in there. Sony Acid Pro was like that before that. But anyways, like it was when I was like 16. I was visiting my brother who lives in Chicago, and I went to Lollapalooza just on a whim. I still don't know how this happened, dude. Like I had $200 in my wallet, and I didn't grow up with like money. So like I still don't know how the money got there. It's still like one of the weirdest things to me. Yeah. And I was in Chicago visiting him, got a 1-day pass, and it was like my first electronic music show. I was like 15 or 16. And that's what like totally flipped it for me. You know what I mean? Where I was like, oh, this is like cool. Because I'd only ever listen to it in headphones. And electronic music isn't like, it's not always like car music. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think in a lot of ways that's what I try to do with my music is like, I want it to live in that world where it's meant to be played live, but you can also listen to it in like a car. Yeah. But especially at that time, electronic music was not, it was still super underground. Is this
like when like dubstep and everything was like,
this is like right when Skrillex and like Scary Monsters like was coming out. Like it was like, the internet kids, like
Yeah.
pre-internet kids, you know, were like really, really on it.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that it was like meant for that setting. And so for me, that was like a, you know, altering brain chemistry moment of being a 16-year-old kid and going to Lollapalooza and just being like, oh, cool, I get it now. You know,
that's the moment. Like if there's ever a movie about you, where it's like little Daniel Allan.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
discovered,
I
like,
still
I'm
haven't,
gonna do this.
I haven't played Lollapalooza, but that's
gonna be incredible.
that's like the
That's
thing.
gonna be amazing.
Yeah, that's
like
the
that
thing.
full circle.
That's the thing. Lollapalooza is the first one that I ever went to, like 9 years ago. So yeah,
wow.
yeah.
That's so cool. You're growing up in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Doing that. Did you ever like come across with Jack Harlow? That's the only like musician
Dude,
rapper that I know.
Good. This is so good.
Oh, okay, great.
Jack was the first session that I ever had.
What?
So I was 13, and so before I say this, I did an Apple interview like a few years ago, and I'm saying it the same way that I told you. I was like, yeah, like I did a session with him, whatever. Can't really consider us like friends in that way, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, whatever. And then the headline comes out, and it's like childhood best friend of Jack Harlow, Daniel Allan. Like, it was so bad. I texted my friend who still like hangs out with him, and I was like, can you just let him know that I didn't say this? She was like, honey, he's not gonna see this. But anyways, yeah, like my first session ever was with Jack. I was 13 and he was 12, and it was in this kid Eli's basement. And it's when I was recording vocals for people. Jack had a producer named Eli, and this kid that I was playing tennis, this kid Daniel Allan that I was playing tennis with, was like, oh, like, you know, like you should come in, like you're an engineer, like you should engineer. It's like insane. 13. Like, you should come in, and so like, anyways, that was like my first session, I guess, as like a little kid, was like seeing Jack like record over beats. And honestly, maybe that had some influence on me wanting to be a producer, because that was the first time I saw a producer too. Like Eli had like a little like crappy like MIDI keyboard and was like playing drums in and doing the whole nine. So maybe that did have something to do with it.
We got to get Jack on a song, man. That's
dude, I know. I feel like I got to bring more to the table.
yeah. couple more hits on your belt, but then I see it happening. Get the Kentucky boys together.
Yeah, full circle moment for sure.
Who says no? I'm all in on that.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. Maybe he'll still
he'll see this me. And yeah,
there you go.
Jack, and come on the pod.
There you go. Shoot your shot,
dude. Yeah. So okay, I want to get back to this. I mentioned earlier that you came up through Web3.
Mm-hmm.
Can you so from my understanding is like you kind of crowdfunded a project through Web3. One, how did that start? Is this something that you were, because I know there was like a big kind of craze during this where, you know, I have like my mother-in-law asking me about like crypto, and I'm like, stay out, please.
Yeah.
But like there was this wave. Like, was this something that you were interested in, or did you kind of see a moment where you're thinking like, this is cool, I could try something different?
Yeah, it was definitely that. Like I moved to LA in January of 2020. Slept in my car for 4 months.
What a great time to move to LA.
Crazy. It was just like a whole thing, right? And then a few months in, I found like a system where I was like, okay, cool. I can sign like some short-term record deals, like 3 or 4 songs at a time that would pay my rent for a few months at a time, right? But I never, obviously, not that I was looking for it, because we're like creatives, we never have anything steady. Like, but I was like, it just doesn't. It feels like really like a stressful life, you know? And about a year and a half in, I had like a couple grand left in my like recording budget. And I was like, I'm going to throw a pop-up, which is so funny because I'm doing so many pop-ups now. But I was like, I'm going to throw like a pop-up in my friend's backyard. This is April of 2021.
Okay.
And it's like a year and 4 months into being here. And I threw this pop-up, and the whole point was for me to, like, I invited everyone in music that I could. So like when I was in college, I had this list of 5 things that I would do every day to kind of like stay on top of my shit. And one of them was to send like 5 cold emails every day. So what I would do is I would go to like New Music Friday, and I promise I'm getting back to the Web3 thing.
No, I'm so fascinated with this. I want to hear about your 5 steps.
It's so bad. Like I would go to New Music Friday, and then I would go to like any song that was on New Music Friday, and I would go to like the Facebook page of the artist, and in the about section, it always had the manager's email. And it still does, by the way. If you're trying to get a hold of an artist,
smart. Yeah,
Facebook about section is
this is free game for you guys out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Take it, run with it. And so on most of the time, because that was like remix culture was still kind of a thing. This is like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Anyways, in that period, typically it would always be the same. I'd do 35 emails a week. I'd get like 30 no responses. Out of the 5 responses, I'd get like 3 no's, 1 maybe, and like 1 yes. Is like, we'll send you the stems. You can like take a pass.
Yeah.
But that means like every year I had like 50 new people that I knew in music. And so when it was time for me to do the show, I just invited all of them. I didn't know if they were in LA. Like I still joke with my agent today. I'm like, I emailed you. I was like, I emailed you and you didn't respond. You know what I mean? Like I invited him to that show. He didn't come to that show. He didn't sign me until like a year after that. But anyways, I throw the show in my friend's backyard and invite everyone in music that I could. Any record label person, assistant, A&R, whoever. And the whole point was for me to try to get like a record deal, because in my mind, I'm like, if I get enough money to go be by myself for 6 months and make music, like that's the best thing I could ever ask for, yada, yada. And I played the show. I split it up into 2 halves. The first half was like music I had out. The second half was like unreleased music. So it was very much like a showcase in that way.
Yeah.
And after that show, I had like a few different people come up to me. A couple of them were label people. And another one was one of my friends that was like in crypto. Like one person that, he wasn't my friend at that point, but he was just like a crypto dude that like came up to me. And when I got the first like kind of label offers, they did formulate into label offers, like the label people. And then I started looking at them and crunching the numbers, and I was like, this feels like bad. You know, like I like started, I didn't have a lawyer at the time, but I showed it to like just my friends. And I was like, what, like, am I, like, this is weird. Like I really need the money, but like, this is just terrible.
The music industry is notoriously just
I was like,
great.
this is just a weird, this doesn't like, the math doesn't math on this. And so I went back to the other guy. And I was like, yo, what, like, cause he also reached out and he was like, let me know if you want to put out music. And I just kind of put that to the side. And then I went back to him and I was like, I mean, this other stuff doesn't look good. Like, what do you have in mind? And he was like, yeah, like my friend Jeremy started this platform called Catalog, where all you have to do is like put up a song and the cover art. And I was like, and then what? Like what happens? Like, and then someone buys it. And I'm like, okay. I mean, like I could probably figure that out. And cause I was like, I know how to make songs. The cover art thing I could probably finesse in one way or another.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'll never forget. It was like that April, like a couple weeks later, I like woke up at 9 a.m. I went to like, I literally like came up with this, like, it's not like that groundbreaking, but like the series that I was going to do on this platform. And I was like the 5th or 6th artist on the platform. So like we made a deal where they would like put me on the front page. You know what I mean? Like as like the promo, since I'm like using the platform. And I didn't even really know that crypto was like involved. And funnily enough, like I knew how to like set up a wallet or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really know what this is, but like my friend's telling me to do it and I'm broke. So yeah, I guess this is what we're doing.
We've all been there.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So I remember like at 9 a.m. I went to like, I was living in North Hollywood at the time, and I went to like the hills, and I was in my, 200,000 mile like Honda Accord, and I literally plugged my laptop into the aux, brought a Fujifilm with me, and I just took a bunch of disposables, made the song from like at 9 a.m., got the film developed at 1 p.m., and then I put the song up at 5 p.m. and sold it for like $3,000 or something, like immediately without like marketing. I didn't even make a post about it. I didn't make an Instagram post. I didn't make a Twitter post. Like kind of
just on the platform.
Kind of just happened. Like I just hit refresh. Yeah. I literally hit refresh and it was like sold. And I was like,
okay,
I'm gonna do that tomorrow. So like I did it the next day and it worked. And then I did it the next day and it worked. And
were these songs sort of like NFTs?
Yeah, I didn't realize it, but like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like it was, that's really kind of what it ended up being, where those were like some of the first music NFTs. And like, I knew that the platform was on chain. Like I knew that like I had to set up a wallet and do all those things. Yeah. I didn't know I had no idea what was going on like on the back end or whatever. I'm just like, this is great right now.
Yeah. You're like, I just make music. I'm putting it on a platform.
It's honestly kind of, in some ways, every creative person's dream.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, where you're kind of just making some stuff, putting it out, making a living off of it and moving on, and not having to do any of the stuff in between. And I mean, that song is the reason, or like that era, which ended up being like a crazy ride for me, like all these, I got this article in Time. I got this, that was the first time I got this article in Time that's like framed in my house that like, that was the first time my mom thought I made it. It was like November of 22.
I bet they finally understand. Like, I don't understand the crypto part of it, but Time Magazine.
I was like, Mom, do you know what Time Magazine is? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm in it. You should like go to the store and like get it. And it was like a crazy edition too. It was like I think it was like the biggest edition of the year or something.
Wow.
It was weird, dude. Like it was all of a sudden like all this stuff was happening, but it was also in a very, very like hyper specific pocket.
Sure.
Of like the crypto side of music on the internet on like Twitter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was like very, very niche. But yeah, that because of that, because of all the stuff that I was able to do and like crowdfunding a project overstimulated, like I was able to. I've been independent my whole career. I own I Just Need. Like I own the masters, I own the publishing. When that car commercial that you brought up came in, like I don't have to clear that with anyone. You know,
dude,
like
that's incredible.
That's been the biggest blessing of all of it, is that it's been a vehicle for me to kind of just do my own thing. Because when a lot of this stuff happened, like all the record kind of deals came in, and they were a lot better than the ones that I got in 2021. But my whole thing with like the record label, all this stuff, I'm not like I hate record labels guy. Like I think there is a time and a place for certain people. My main thing is I don't want to be like slowed down. Like I don't want someone to tell me that I like can't do something yet. Like I hate that. And for me, it's let me continue to go at like the pace that I want to go, like the DIY pace that I want to go, without anyone, like, because I've heard so many stories of like, oh, like my label hasn't let me put out music in 2 years, you know? And
right.
That's always been so weird to me, dude. Like that's like torture. Like as a creative, I think like you always want to share your work, and if there's like something that literally like legally doesn't permit you to do that, it's like that's a scary place to be, you know? And
and also like, not to mention if something comes out, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, you're not that artist anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like that's got to be so difficult to like, that's out and you're like, oh, that's cool, but I'm over here now.
Yeah, for sure. So the Web3 stuff like gave me like more flexibility for being a small artist than I could have ever asked for.
Yeah.
You know? So
did you have any fears of sort of getting boxed into that, of like being part of that like Web3 crypto craze and trying to like make it into like the more traditional side of it?
Yes and no, because I had so little to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had like nothing going for me. You know what I mean? Like there was no I Just Need. There was no like, there was like, I was just putting songs up on DistroKid, and I still do that. But like I was just putting songs up, and like whatever happens, and nothing was happening. So I like had the full, like, it's not like I had like momentum where I thought that was going to get in the way.
Right.
You know, I was like, this is a lane that doesn't exist, and maybe I could be the guy in that lane for a little bit.
Yeah.
And at least I'll be a guy of some lane, you know, because I had never, you know, yeah, I don't know. I think that I Just Need, not to like go back to it, like that definitely helped get me out of that.
Yeah.
I would say in a lot of ways, because that's just a song that people listen to, you know, whereas before, like the biggest like critique I would get is be like, oh, like he's just like a crypto dude, and then I dropped the song and I was like,
what do you have to say now?
Yeah,
look at you, look at the price of Bitcoin, like what's going up right now?
Yeah.
that's crazy. I feel like you've had such an interesting career so far. Like you're having these like very internet like kind of viral moments of putting something out there and then it like popping, but also you do, of course, you're playing the hits right now where it's like you have so many of these other moments where I'm sure, you're just kind of like throwing shit out there and seeing if it's going to stick, and it doesn't. But dude, that's insane. I was so curious about that Web3 thing, because it was during that moment where I was a creative director at a company at one point. They're like, we got to make NFTs now. And it felt like everybody was kind of dipping into that world and that market. And I felt like it was always still I felt like even half the people talking about NFTs and stuff, like also they were confused about it. But yeah, that's so cool. I feel
I'm grateful for them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy to be on record saying that, because I would not, none of the other stuff that I have had the flexibility to be able to do, I wouldn't have been able to do without that. So yeah. Like,
so were these like songs like a one of one, like that person like owns that song? Were you able to, or were they leasing it? Like, how did that work?
the best way that I can like try to explain it is that it was basically just a digital vinyl.
Yeah.
That,
oh, cool.
You know,
yeah.
Like you have a vinyl that you can hang up at your house, or you have one that lives online. And I think the thought process has always been like, with how much more our lives become online, having that like hung up on your wallet, or having that hung up in whatever like internet world that you live in, is proof that you're a fan of someone. So I think that was, I think that like one of the like main selling points of it has always been like, I've met like 10 people that have told me they've discovered Billie Eilish, because that's just how LA is, you know, like everyone here says it, whatever, right? But there's nothing that they can do outside of like FaceTiming her and asking her that could really point to that. Whereas me like dropping a music NFT or like a digital collectible or vinyl or whatever, like however you want to think about it, one thing is for sure is like you can point to when you became a fan of a person. And if you think about like what I was doing on social media and how I Just Need to Start to Move, a lot of it was kind of formed off the back of that thought process, was like when you could prove that you're a fan of someone early, right?
Wow.
So I kind of just took that off chain. And
I know, like
did it on
some of the videos that you were making were like the caption was sort of like, I discovered Daniel Allan before he blew up, or you're like comparing yourself to like other artists. And like, imagine that. And I think it's so cool that you're kind of leaning into that trope, because, you know, it's for the tale as old as time of people being like, I liked that band, or I liked that person before they got big, right? Like that was the cool thing. But that's awesome about owning that collectible. So you do have that proof. Like, do you ever meet like OG fans like at a show that have like
I have like a lot of, it's typically from that like overstimulated era, which is the one that I crowdfunded.
Yeah.
I could spot them from a mile away because they make the craziest song requests. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I don't even have that song on my USB. You know what I mean? Like that's like a rare deep cut one off that like, because at the time I was also making a little bit less like dance forward music. You know, I didn't start making dance music until I was thrown into playing shows.
Right.
You know, like don't get me wrong, it was like in the electronic world, you know what I mean? But it's typically those guys. Like it's typically like the people that are like, yo, play like Poison. I'm like, damn, I don't even have that on my USB. You know? So yeah.
Let me search this up real quick.
Yeah, for sure. You know, that's such a funny thing about DJs. Like everyone thinks that you could just like, you just got a laptop handy and you could just like search it up and do it. I wish there were like Wi-Fi on the CDJs and you could just look it up. It's like,
right.
That's why you got to be prepared, because if you don't have it, you don't have it. And someone's going to be sad, you know?
So like you have like this career, like all in this digital world, and even like with having the song, just having I Just Need take off and be viral. I imagine then, like, did you see a jump in playing live shows from that moment? Like, that's got to be crazy when you can obviously see the numbers and get hyped about that. You can see the money in your bank account, but when you actually see a group full of people singing along to your song, dancing to it, jumping up and down, I'm sure that's got to be just like insane.
Dude, so I went on my first like headline tour this year, which is crazy to think about. It was February and March. Nothing crazy. It was 3 shows. It was LA, Denver, New York. Not like anything sexy, right? Yeah. But I announced the tour in December because I remember I asked my agents, I was like, the beginning of last year, January 1st of last year, I asked my agents, I was like, why am I not getting any looks? And they were like, oh, I was like, send me the pitch sheet. Like, I want to see how I'm being pitched to like talent buyers, whatever. Right. And at the top of it, it didn't have any of like the Time articles or any of the press stuff. It just had reach. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I now know that this is the game.
Yeah,
right?
that's the key metric. Yeah.
And so for the whole year, I was like posting all these videos and whatnot. And festival buying season is like August to December. To be able to play festivals like kind of the next summer, right? And so I knew I wasn't on any of them for this year because I was all August to December, right? Like the summer ones, right? And so I went back to them in December and I was like, look, I had a couple videos do well, whatever. Like at the time I hadn't had the big ones, but I like had like a couple that were starting. December is when that song started to move. I was like, I'm just going to announce a tour. And they were like, technically like management agents do have to do what you ask them to do, even if you're being like egregious. Like they'll push back and like ask you to make an educated decision. And I was like, I don't care about any of that. I was like, let's just announce a tour and see how it goes. We announced it. It goes terribly. Like they were so right. Like we announced it and it was like so bad. Typically, like you're still like, you play like small rooms, like it should sell out quickly, like all that. We announced it and it was just doing terrible. And I was like, oh God, like they're like, nah, this is not the plan. And then the day that like a few months go by, the first show is February 29th in Denver, and I Just Need started going viral in February, like February 25th, and then like just the whole tour sold out. Whoa. Like it was just like the timing was insane. Like everything just went, like you could just point to the before and after in a lot of ways of just like, and so when I started going to the shows, like I played this show in New York, and the craziest part about having like a song that's big is people discover the other ones. Like you're not going to get everyone, right? You know what I mean? Like it's actually like very few people, but you do get people that like start to listen to the rest of the catalog. And I played this song called Safe, which is like one of the smaller songs on that project in New York. And like this girl's front row singing the second verse. I'm like, I don't know the second verse. I'm like, I literally don't know the second verse to the song. And so like that was insane. And playing I Just Need at those shows, it was obviously like my last song.
Yeah.
Was just, it was perplexing. Like it was just
Yeah.
like everyone knew every word to it. Like phone lights were out, the building was shaking, and I was like, dude, this like it's
What is life?
It's like not a normal thing. Like it's definitely like a very I'm still like I don't know that I'll ever like get used to it, but I'm still like coming to terms with it because the timing of that whole thing was just like one of those like I'm not like a religious person, but
Yeah.
it was like one of those like God things. Like it was
Yeah.
just one of those things where like something else, like whatever, you know, I'm probably more spiritual than I am religious, where I was like, something happens here. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like where it was just like the timing weirdly worked out. And like maybe the fact that I took the risk to announce the tour early paid off. Like, I don't know. I don't
Wow.
exactly like, I can't point to anything, but I mean, I cried the first show.
Dude,
The very first show in Denver. I Just Need, and I play like 1 second of it. Like I literally play like the beginning intro reverse vocal. That's like it's like a snippet of an audio file. Like it's tiny.
Yeah.
And like whole building is like like crazy, like whatever. And I literally just start crying. I just break down crying. Like because I had never you can kind of hack being a DJ. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you can like I could pull up at any party in LA and play like a Billie Eilish song and people will love me.
Yeah.
But when it's like one of your own, it just is. It hits so wildly different. You know, like being a DJ is really fun on its own. Whether or not you make your own music, it's just a fun thing to do. But when it's like, when it crosses that like chasm of being, oh, like these people like actually know like the stuff that I write.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like it doesn't make sense.
You have this picture that you posted of you like front row at a Chainsmokers concert when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just sort of recently played with the Chainsmokers. That was insane. Like, what was that like for you?
First of all, that show, I played it at the Shoreline Amphitheater, which is a venue in Mountain View, which is an hour. It's like the Bay, basically.
Yeah.
It was 22,000 people. I got the sound check and I told my manager, like, are we in the right place? You know what I mean? Like it felt like absolutely preposterous. But we started working on music together recently, and I showed Drew that picture and we just kind of laughed about it. But I've always wanted that to be like a lot of my friends have like notions of what their like brands are musically, you know? My friend like San Holo, his brand is there's this existential light at the end of the tunnel, and like his whole life's work is to find meaning throughout that. And, you know, his like music is his way of doing that. I've never really had like that relationship with it. Like my relationship has always been like I've been the kid like that was front row at a Chainsmokers concert, didn't know anyone in the music industry. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. My parents are immigrants, so they don't know anyone either. And I just made 150 peanut butter sandwiches and moved across the country one day, you know? And us like working together, us like touring together now is like maybe what I want my story to be in a lot of ways, because I mean this like so honestly, and I'm not trying to be humble. I don't think I'm that like special in a way. I don't consider myself that talented. Like I'm not like, there's so many of my friends that are like naturally just like anytime they touch Ableton, it's like the most beautiful thing ever. That's not me. Like I make so many bad songs, you know, like so many. But the one thing that I maybe give myself credit for is like, I've always been really naive in a way, where I didn't really think about what I had to do to maybe get to a point where I'm at in my career, which I don't feel is like that far or anything. I feel like there's so many things that I want to still do, but I've always like when I've had this like vision in my head that like, and I do this at every show. I say the same thing. Like I like talk to people. Like I cut the music for like a minute and I just tell people like, I'm like, yo, do whatever the fuck you want to do in your life. You know, like if I can do it, you can too, like whatever, like that whole thing. And that's like my main, like fundamental through line of being an artist in a lot of ways, because I don't have like that existential, you know, light thing, but I do have my story, which has been moving and doing that whole thing. And like a funny thing with the Chainsmokers one, and I think it's the reason that we're friends and like that it works well, is they had to do a lot of the same stuff when they were coming up too. Like they didn't really have any like major cosigns or anything like that. They kind of had to be scrappy and figure it out and whatnot. And what's really funny about us, the way that I got that show was I met Alex on a boat in December of 2022 in Miami. I don't know how I got on. I probably snuck on. Like I had like no business being there, whatever. And it's fine now. And I saw him on the boat, and one thing led to another. I was like, I just need an intro to this guy. So I asked my manager at the time. I was like, I really want to meet this dude. And she like went up to him, and she was a badass manager move. Like she went up to him and she was hugging him and was like, hey, long time no see. And he was like, oh my God, how have you been? I was like, you know him? Like, why have you waited? Like, why have you waited so long to introduce me to him? And, but then he was like, yeah, like she's like, she's a really good dancer. And I was like, she's the least coordinated person I know. Like, there's no way. I was like, he is thinking of the wrong person. So she's just like finessing. Like, she's literally fully finessing, like pretending like she knows the dude. And like, he just like somehow believes her. And then she was like, oh, this is Daniel. And we had the same agent. Like my agent used to be their agent, or like is still, I think, in some ways involved in the project. And I was like, that's all I need is just a moment of like, let me like send a selfie to our agent, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like let's send a picture to Phil. And he's like, oh, you know Phil? Like, yeah, he's my agent. He's like, oh, I'll give you my number or whatever. And like, that's how that like whole relationship started. Like Alex is the best texter on the planet. Like really? He literally, I feel so bad because I'm still like a terrible texter and he's a million times kind of beyond where I am out of my career, and he'll always text back in 2 minutes. Not just to me, like to anyone. You know what I'm like in the bottom 5% of cool people on his phone. He'll always like respond, you know?
That's good just for like a normal average person who's
it's
working
like amazing.
9 to 5.
Yeah,
like,
it's amazing.
Getting a text after 2 minutes.
It's unbelievable. He's like always on it. Even when I'm being annoying, like sending him music, like, you know, like being the guy that's like, oh, let me send you like 7 songs. But like, yeah, this is cool. Thanks for sending. Like, you know. Yeah. But anyways, 6 months went by after I met him, and we were kind of keep in touch. Like I would, you know, be annoying, send him some stuff. And then one day my agent calls me, like they're playing some shows. And they're like, you know, going on a tour or whatever. And he was like, I'm just giving you a heads up. Like they're starting to think about it. So I made Alex a PowerPoint. Like I made him I have it on my phone. It's over there. I'll show you. It's like,
dude, we need this PowerPoint.
It is like the ugliest PowerPoint of all time. Like I wanted it to look like no one on my team made this like I did. So it's just black and white, no formatting. Like literally like, hi, I'm Daniel Allan, blah, blah. And I just gave him like a list of reasons for why I would tour with him. It was like 30 slides or something. Like it was just preposterous. And I think he responded. Like he's like, I like this. Like this is really cool. Like blah, blah. And I think I've always had that understanding with them where it's like they had to do a lot of the same things because no one was doing it for them. Yeah. And I think I would hope that I have a little bit of that. I think for them, maybe it was a little bit more natural. I think for me, it's more because my parents are immigrants and like kind of growing up in that atmosphere, you know? But yeah, it's definitely like the PowerPoint is preposterous, dude. Like it is genuinely like the worst thing you'll ever see in your life. But like I even had like a section at the end that was like, so tour ? And then circle one of the below. And then I just had yes, and like no was not on. Like, it like wasn't an option. Like I was just doing like wild shit. So.
Dude, that's such
yeah.
That is such a good move though, like making it so it doesn't look like your team did it too, because I'm sure like, you know, they get requests and all that stuff and they have like their marketing people make it up, but it's like you're going artist to artist. Yeah. And they're that's probably exactly like why they respect you. They see themselves in you.
I think it was like random dude to artist at that point. I don't even know if they viewed it like that. I just think they're really nice. You know? So
dude, that's inspiring. I feel like what I'm learning about you is that you're like kind of an entrepreneur. You're definitely a hustler. Like you were like, in some ways, you're after it. And I think that is, I don't know, that's something I think as a major takeaway here, where it's like you can be this amazing artist, but it's like it's that like next level that you have to like, you know, you believe in yourself, and I think like that helps the belief in other people believing in your music and what it is. Because like if you didn't have any buy-in, like who's listening?
I just remember like seeing my parents growing up. You know what I mean? Like my parents were like on Section 8 housing and living off food stamps. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this is nothing. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, this is easy. I'm over here like in LA, like eating a sandwich in my car. Like at the time, I was like, this is like it was so much worse for them. So I don't know. That's just I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky that was I saw a lot of that very, very firsthand. You know? Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate it. But I don't know. I think that's just like something that I experienced, and luckily it was like passed down or something.
Man, have you ever had a moment like? Do you ever struggle with self-doubt? Like,
fuck yeah.
Yeah. Like, have you have moments where like this isn't gonna work? I gotta give up. Like, what is it that like kind of keeps you
like
going?
Every Tuesday.
Is today Tuesday? I think it is.
What is it? There it is. I knew it. Yeah. I mean, I think that there is no, like, especially with the way the internet is, it's like a human highlight reel, you know, and it doesn't show any of the bad songs. It doesn't show any of the 200 takes that you take before you get 2 seconds of a video that feel good, right? I think that I wish I'll send you a picture of it. Like I've been like journaling a lot recently, And I just wrote this thing. It was July 14th, I think. I wrote this thing that I basically was just having a really good day. Like, it's like, doesn't, like, where everything was just hitting. Like, every song idea was good, like, everything. And normally, I just remember, like, sometimes if you have those, like, let's say once a month or like once every couple months, you, at the end of the day, you're like, oh, like, I'm going to wake up and do the same thing tomorrow. But then maybe you don't sleep as well, whatever. Like, it's just not the same every day, right? Yeah. But for whatever reason, on that day, I just, like, I wrote down why. Like, it was just the end of the day. And I was like, I want to document exactly why today was really good. And I still read it back like most mornings. And really what it was is the only thing that I was focusing on, and I know this sounds like so like wildly cliche, is just like ideas. Like, the only thing that I was focusing on was like crafting something. Like, I don't know that I posted on Instagram that day or anything. Like, I think it was just a only writing day. And I think that having that as my North Star in a lot of ways helps with the doubt, because it's all like trying to pursue some sort of like a craft or something interesting or something new or something exciting and fresh. And like I said earlier, like, the bad stuff is a really big part of that. And dude, like, self-doubt is so real for me. Like, it's not imposter syndrome with like the song, with everything, is so real for me. Like, I'm like by no means trying to like insinuate that I have a solution for it or anything. But for me, it's really just like the North Star has always been craft and writing and music. And as much as I can, if I feel myself getting into like one of those like kind of rabbit holes, most of the times I just try to write. I know some people will like take a break at that instance. Most of the time I am like, this is all so bad that I'm just gonna like write something. And most of the times that's like a good song. You know, most of the time that's like kind of the inflection point. Like, I always know that it's almost, I want to be like really careful here because I don't want to seem insensitive. I almost get excited when I start feeling a little bit doubtful, because I know that like in a week something really cool will happen, or like you know, it's like a cycle, like where you know, it's like if you have like 2 good weeks, you know, like that you're in.
That's
for
the
it,
creative
you know?
process, you know. Like, have you seen that like graphic of like the it's like, oh, let's go, I'm awesome, this is awesome, oh, this is shit, I'm shit. And like you go through, I think like every creative person working on a project or something can relate to that. And it is a good reminder, like when you're kind of like, okay, I'm all the way this way, it's gonna swing back eventually, you know.
Like there's like an inflection point that happens at some point, you know, and it doesn't make it any easier in the moment. Like in the moment you're like, everything sucks, I'm terrible, whatever. But I don't know. That's just like a North Star for me. It's like, I'm just going to go to sleep. Sleeping helps a lot. I'm just going to go to sleep and wake up tomorrow and like, I don't know, just try it again. So I don't know. That's just my perspective on it, but I struggle with it too, for sure.
Yeah. What would you say to a young Daniel Allan that's listening to, who's a 15-year-old kid in Kentucky right now, that's like wanting to do, maybe they just have their iPod Touch and they're going through it and they're figuring out like, I want to pursue this career, I'm not sure how. Like, what would you say to them to encourage them?
I wouldn't change anything. You know, I would say your intuition is correct. Like, I feel like for the first 5 years of my journey in music, I didn't even think about how for any of it. Like, I was like, I'm just going to do, and like, whatever happens, happens. And I think like being naive, like blindly naive, is so wildly important. And I think I had that. Like, I think I was just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, cause I didn't know anyone in music. Like, I didn't have anyone tell me like how hard it was going to be or whatever. And really like the most important like mantra or thing that I've always lived by is just keep going, because video number 192 could be the video, or, you know, like I think I just need like that. I've put out more than 100 songs before that song. You know what I mean? And in a weird way, I think that was something that, like I said, maybe because of my parents or whatever, it was something that I was really fortunate to have innately in some ways. Because I don't have the talent, so at least I got that. And I don't know. I think I always do try to think about like the 16-year-old version of myself and like make that person proud. And I think that I would be really proud because I just kept going, you know? And so that's always been like my mantra.
That's so good. It's what we always are saying to like the Create.Repeat community that we're building. It's just like, sometimes I think like keep going. Yeah, there you go. Create.Repeat, let's get it. For those of you listening, we're just showing a shirt with Create.Repeat on it. But yeah, you know, it's like keep going. It really is as simple as that, eventually you're going to hit something, and it's going to be either it's going to be a eureka moment or a pivot point. And I think like it's so important, but it's like it's the hardest thing to hear when you're in it. Like, just keep going, man. It's like I don't want to hear that. I'm kind of down on myself right now. I'm struggling with this, but I think like hearing you, and like I think from the outside looking in, you can go like, oh, that kid, like he's popped off in these different places, but to know that you've struggled with that self-doubt and you deal with that too, I think it's like weirdly comforting. I feel comforted. I don't want to be a DJ or a producer. Maybe a part of me does. I'd say like 10% of me does.
Take a story arc.
I just want
I feel like you could. Like, you guys are so good at the most like random stuff. I feel like you could figure it out.
I would just want it for like the tag, like in the beginning of a song. Like I just want to be like Zacky on the beat or something.
That's so sick. I literally just got my first producer tag. That's so
really?
Cool. Yeah.
What's it sound like? Can you do an impression of it?
DA.
That's pretty good.
But a rapper did it for me, so it's way cooler.
Yeah,
it's like infinitely cooler than what I just did. So yeah,
dude, I love that. Dude, also I just gotta say, like, you're always like repping our stuff right now. Like he's wearing a Create.Repeat shirt right now. For those who don't see, like, we just appreciate it. We're just so happy to be like aligned with you, and I think you're
sickest shirt. It's like my favorite merch. I literally wear all of it. I wear all the Season of Sunday, all the Create.Repeat, like literally everything. Like I wear it 70-80% of the time, not for any other reason, like outside. I mean, I love you guys, but I also just love the clothes. Like, I mean, genuinely, I love all the messaging behind it. Like, I get so many people that like stop me and ask me like where they're from. Like, it happens almost every time that I wear it, you know? So I love it. Dude, thank you for giving me clothes.
Dude, like, of course. We couldn't think of like a better person to rep our stuff, because like you're really like, you're obviously super dope, but you're also walking the walk, and you're a good person for us to like look up to and align ourselves with. So
same.
Yeah. But dude, this has been awesome. Like, thank you so much for coming down here and being on the pod.
Let's go. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, that's been another episode of the Create.Repeat podcast. Thank you for listening and watching.
Sheesh.
We know this. We know this. Disconnected, but doing what I was called to do. In tune, tuned in full.